Peace, y'all. Hope you're doing well. Come in for a landing real quick. Not a lot of clouds out there today, but it still looks dope. Pretty clear. Hmm. Well, y'all, today I kind of just had a bit of an epiphany about myself and the way I can begin to look at me lending my words to a certain type of a person. um, Oftentimes, y'all, I will have people come to me, especially, um, well, kind of just anywhere nowadays, really. Um, but mostly at the market. That's where I have most people around me, I guess, or large groups of people around me. It's not even I guess. It's 100%. There's a gang of people, right? And oftentimes, you'll have people that want to talk, and for whatever reason, they are attracted to you, and they want to begin to speak. So, oftentimes, I will be asked things of a certain person, type of person, or maybe we'll get into it. Um, that you, or at least I will often feel as though my words are falling on deaf ears, and oftentimes, y'all, I would just kind of get frustrated and be like, I don't want to help anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody anymore about anything because they're not listening to me. Hmm. Um, they don't get it. Yeah, what if, what if the the question that's being asked, right? So, for example, I'm wanting to start a new business because I'm kind of stressed out over my life. I don't like the way that time is working. I'm cool with my money. Of course, money I could have more. Probably should have a little bit more. However, I'm cool with that, which is a good point. However, the time aspect is just horrible, and I prefer to give better time. So during the conversation, I just proceeded to show the person how, in fact, they have gained a lot more time, and they agreed to that, and that I guess that's fine and all. However, then after it got back into the money thing, and it's like, okay, actually, it got back into the money thing, but not for the sake of needing more money. Keep in mind, like, once again, these people, they said that they're cool with what they got. However, the job that they have, now that they figured out that they actually do have more time, they, or I just kind of showed them how they do have more time in consideration, or in comparison to their previous job, right? So one job, they had, their last job, they had more time than they did the job before in terms of free time, which led to a certain lifestyle, right? Because all you had to do is just work a couple days, and then you had enough money for a month or two, which is great. However, those days don't always just come, you dig? They could be few and far between, or at least feel it. And so oftentimes, it's like anything else, you'll romanticize the good parts, but often forget the parts that had you up at night worrying and not feeling okay with that said lifestyle, right? And so you manifested a new life or a new job that allowed you a similar lifestyle. However, now your day is taken up a little bit more. However, within the course of the day, you have a lot of time because the job is relatively, I'm not going to ever say it's easy, but it's not necessarily something that requires you to constantly be working. So you still have the time, but now you just don't have the time at home. So you've traded in the anxiety piece for time, right? Waiting for the next phone call to get another job was hard for them, right? Which it is for a lot of people. I mean, it's understandable. I was there myself. In fact, I was in the same line of work as this person. And so it was like, okay, I can totally understand that. And that's why I was able to speak on the anxiety piece of being like, yo, what happens in between jobs? Because even if you get a lot of money in one job, it's still never enough. What if the phone doesn't call? Those kind of crazy thoughts that aren't even yours begin to run through your mind, which keeps you up at night or wakes you up early, in my case. And then you begin to have these crazy thoughts of just not having enough, which will lead you to not having enough, right? So perhaps that lifestyle isn't for you. And so again, you moved on. But now the time is what you desire. So I just simply said, why don't you go look at like chat and type in passive ways I can make money using you and see a result within the day or the week or whatever it is, lay down the line, how much money you want to make and what it is that you want it to look like. And to that, just get the, okay, that's a good idea, but whatever, and it's like, I got a bit frustrated or finding myself getting frustrated, but oddly enough, it bouncing back off. It was normally a place in which I will get frustrated, but I didn't get frustrated. You can also liken this to a person that's like, when your friends, they'll come up to you and they're like, yo, I want to lose weight. I'm sad because, I want to lose weight and I can't lose weight. And so you go over this whole regimen of how you lost weight and what will help for you. And they're just like, okay, yeah. It's like almost like they just their energy is suggesting that perhaps they can't hear you or not willing to go down this line because perhaps in your mind, it sounds as though what you're saying is too hard for them, right? And that's just in your ego at work when that kind of stuff happens. You have no idea what's going on in their head. Even the fact that you are getting frustrated, or in my case, I was getting frustrated with them seeming to not be able to understand what it is that I'm saying, or not being gung-ho about it, like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Whatever that is, that was my ego, right? And so, figuring that out, or hearing that in my head, so I'm very grateful for that, it began to think, well, what am I supposed to learn from this? And what I'm supposed to learn from this, y'all, is perhaps what if those questions are nothing more than a sprout popping, asking to be watered? You know what I'm saying? They're not full grown, dude. Nothing. That tree right there, y'all, it does not get, it took it, although it got that high relatively fast, it took it a minute to get there, right? It takes time to get to that tree. And I can't expect that tree to get that big during one conversation, or at least have the understanding that they can get that big during one conversation. It's simply a sprout that I just needed to water. We're seeds, y'all. We'll be watered several times until we get to that point, or as big as that tree. Dang, that's crazy. I didn't even know why I wanted to look at that tree just until now. Oh, damn. Peace, y'all.